And next up on Tech for Techs, Phil flips his lid and plays with his big pole. And he even goes mental for minimalization. All this and more on the next Tech for Techs.
Hi everyone, I'm Phil from Tech for Techs. Are you a system builder, system integrator, reseller, computer store? Well, today I'm going to introduce you to something that may well make you consider selling all-in-one systems. With me today I have a modular all-in-one PC from Loop. We have more information in the links below, so feel free to check them out. Before we go on to the main video, if you would do us a favour, click that like button, subscribe, click the bell as well. That way you'll get notifications of new videos and live streams we do. Again, doing all these things helps support the channel, and helping to support the channel allows us to release more videos, better quality videos, and more content exclusively just for you. Okay, as you can see here, we've got the all-in-one, a stand, a compute unit, and a few little bits and bobs here. Just to bear in mind, this is an ex-demo model, so there might be a few little marks and stuff on it. Obviously, when you get it, it should be pretty clean and so forth. What we've got today is the actual main screen itself, which is here. We'll go through that in detail in a few minutes. We've also got one of their height adjustable, tiltable, rotatable stands, which is really cool as well. We've got a 11th gen compute unit as well from Intel, and these little peripherals are basically just for tidying cables up and stuff like that. So let's get closer into the actual stand first, show you how that works, and then go from there. Okay, let's have a quick look at the stand. So first of all, you've got the base, pretty straightforward, looks like a nice sturdy base, which obviously is metal, which is pretty good, but it has got a turntable on the bottom there, which makes it able to obviously swivel round. So when the actual stand's on it, you can basically swivel it round with ease, so you can show, well, obviously colleagues what's going off and so forth if needs be. Then you've got the actual, obviously, stand part itself. That's pretty easy. You just put it in at an angle, twist in, and basically it's on. And again, it's quite sturdy. The outside of this is more of a plastic, but it's very sturdy. I'm guessing the inside is pretty much all metal inside. The bit what connects to the actual monitor itself is height adjustable. As you can see, it slides up and down with a little bit of force, because obviously there's no weight to the screen on at the moment, so it's hard to actually do it. And it does rotate as well, which is pretty difficult without the screen as well. But on the back, you've also got a nice cable tidy as well on there, so you can put your cables all in here and it'll keep it nice and tidy for you, so you should be pretty good there. Otherwise, it's pretty straightforward. You could actually use this pretty much on any monitor on the market with what's around about 24 inches, to be honest with you, and you should be all right. But again, this is obviously designed to work with this screen. Okay, so this is basically the compute unit, or compute element, or whatever you want to call it. This is what connects into the all-in-one, so you can change it out for having different CPUs and so forth. So in basics, it's a CPU, RAM, as well as wireless, all in one unit. So rather than having to go out and buy each individual thing, it's all in there, which makes it easy to swap out in these all-in-ones. So for example, if Intel bought out a 12th gen, 13th gen, 14th gen, or whatever they wanted to call them, you basically can just pull that card out, stick the new one in. You don't have to reinstall Windows or anything like that, and it upgrades the device automatically. Unlike on most motherboards, once you get to a processor beyond a certain step, you've got to replace the motherboard because the socket's different. Well, these are all basically the same socket on them. For example, we've already got an 8th Gen 1 inside the unit already, what they've supplied us, and they've also supplied us with this 11th Gen 1. All we need to do is basically pull the one out, push the other one in, connect up the wireless card, which is two little pins, and away you go. Okay, so we've got the unit here. As you can see, it's got a few bubbles on the screen. That's just basically for the protect and film. As I said, it is an ex-demo model, so obviously when you do buy a new one, you won't get all those bubbles over it. And then anyway, you're going to peel it off anyway once you've got it all set up. Again, I suggest you leave that in while you're still building it up. It just protects the screen and make sure you don't get any scratches on it. You do have a bezel at the bottom, which has got all your options like your power button, load lights, back forwards, menus, and I'm guessing that's an AV input option there, which we'll talk about in a few seconds. Otherwise, it's quite a thin bezel design, which is pretty good, but also on top, which is hard to see from there, there is a little web camera, so you can actually have that popped out, so you can obviously do your Zoom, Skype, Teams calls and so forth. Okay, so inside the machine you've got a carrier board, which is probably a bit like the motherboard-ish in a way, and this is the I/O plate, which is your input-output, which basically means your devices you plug in. You've got a power connection there, you've got HDMI, you've got Ethernet, you've got 3 USB ports there, which look like the USB 3, and then underneath this bit here, and I'm not exactly sure what this is for, if it's for a wireless keyboard and mouse, a special one or not, we haven't been supplied any, so I'm not sure, or it might be some sort of pass-through for power, I'm not sure, but there's another 2 USB ports there as well. I'm going to plug that back in, hopefully we'll get a reply from Loop and they'll tell us exactly what that's for, and I'll put that on the screen just above, just so you know. There's also 2 more USB 3 ports here as well, and you've got HDMI input there, so you can actually plug a PC tower or a laptop or anything else into this screen, even a game console for example, into this screen and use it actually as a screen rather than an all-in-one. So maybe in a few years time you didn't want to use the computer part for whatever, you could just use it as a monitor. Obviously up to you how you want to do it, but it's nice to have that ability so you're not wasting the unit when you don't want to use it anymore. You could always use it as a spare TV for obviously a PlayStation, Xbox or whatever you want. Okay, on the bottom of the machine here, there is actually a bay here with a screw in it, which you can take the screw out. There we go. And then if we can get the bay out, there we go. You've got a 2.5-inch hot swappable bay there, so you can plug in a 2.5-inch laptop hard drive or solid state drive. Bear in mind you've still also got an M.2 option as well underneath here. This is just for extra storage, so if you wanted to put let's say a 4 terabyte SSD in there, you can do for extra storage, which is ideal, and again it is hot swappable, so that's pretty good. Next you've got this panel here. I've taken a lot of the screws out so you don't have to sit here watching me for 10 minutes taking all the screws out. But in basics you've got 4 large screws which are for the stand, or you can use for wall mounting or putting it on some other type of stand or desk mount. You take those 4 out, 1 in each corner, and then you've got these smaller ones all the way around the edge. Once you take those ones out, you can then actually get to the inside of the unit. You will need a flathead screwdriver or something along that lines to get in, so let me just grab one. As you can see, there's a little flat mark there. You need to just basically stick a screwdriver in there lightly and basically pull up. Probably a bigger screwdriver might have helped. Give it a quick wobble and there you go. So the back panel has come off. On the back of the back panel you do have, it looks like a thermal pad which goes from the SSD to the actual plate there to obviously get rid of some of that heat. And inside, as you can see, we've already got a SSD installed. We've got a gigabyte SSD. It's M.2 NVMe, so you can use it NVMe drives no problem. And then you've got that compute card there. The one that's already in there is an 8th gen i3. We're going to swap it out for an 11th gen i5, which should, in theory, be very simple. He says doing it the first time. So this is the bit what's going to be going inside, and it will be going that way up. So by the looks of it, we've got 2 little cords here. That's for the wireless. You have to disconnect those. Usually just pull up on them. 1 and 2. And then we're going to have to unscrew this part here. So 2 black screws at the top corner. And I'm guessing this is going to flip out a bit like laptop memory does at an angle, but we'll see in a second. So those two have come out. Oh yeah, it's already rising up. And there it is. So I'm just going to pull that out and bang, there it is. And there you can see the heat sink and the heat pipes on the back, which would connect to there to draw obviously all the heat away from the CPU or the compute card. And again, the compute card includes wireless, it includes the RAM and obviously the CPU, depending on the compute card you buy. Some have more RAM, different CPU and so forth. So next we're going to input that one in, so we're swapping it out for an 11th gen one. So you just push it in, it says. There we go. Get it, make sure it's in nice, and then just push down and watch you don't lose those little wireless antennas there. There we go. And then it's just push down, screw those two back screws in the corner again, and then you've just got to attach those wireless antennas on there, which I always find to be the biggest pain to actually do in laptops or anything. I know there's a way of doing it, you have to press down from one side and sort of roll your thumb over it, but sometimes they work straight away, and then other times you'll spend 5 minutes trying to connect them up. But then you've got to basically connect those two up to those two basically headers on the top there, screw it all back together, and bang, you've got your unit. Okay, as you can see, we've got all this set up, and as you can see, it's very minimalistic, so you can't see the cabling, because basically the power cable is running along the back here, and then it goes straight behind the stand, which is pretty good. So you can't even actually tell there's a cable there. I'm looking and it's like, wow, that looks pretty cool. Looks like we've got a device with no power cables. And obviously, again, if you're using wireless keyboard and mouse, it makes it look even better, especially for your office. So we've already peeled the plastic off because it looked a bit of a mess, to be honest with you. So we've taken that off, given it a clean down, so it looks a little bit better. What we're going to do now is power it on for the first time. I'm fingers crossed, I'm hoping it is going to power on, because we've just changed to the 11th gen CPU basically, or the compute board. So we just hold the power button down for let's just say half a second. I'm guessing, yeah, it lights up blue, and then I'm hoping it lights up. It may take a second or two, I'm guessing. Sometimes these things take, yeah, here we go. Oh, there we go, it's coming on pretty quick. Bang, that's how quick it is. So that's pretty good. So now we've got 11th gen i5 processor. We've upgraded from an i3. We've got a nice gigabyte NVMe based solid state drive in there, which is pretty fast. The installation of Windows we're using is the one what I usually use for all our testing and stuff, what's usually in our main test rig. So I've just basically taken that SSD, plugged it in there. Now as you can see, it's all up and running pretty much straight away with no issues. Regarding the little unit, what we found on the bottom, which have got the two USB ports, let's see if I can pull it out. There we go. This bit here, what it is actually like a USB pass-through, so it allows the connections, the other USB ports on the back, which are USB 3, to work on under USB 3 speeds instead of USB 2. So without that, those will still work, but on a USB 2 speed. So again, we're going to plug that back in. So now basically those ports are working USB 3. Something I've been told by the rep as well at Loop, if you actually connected this screen up to another PC, it will actually use all the peripherals built into the actual screen as well, like the web camera and stuff like that. So you could basically use it as a monitor with a webcam and hub and everything built into one, which is really good. So I can't really fault it for that. The screen wise, don't get me wrong, looking at an angle, probably 145 degrees, it does look a little bit off, to be honest with you, the screen, but when you are looking it straight on, the colour is pretty good, to be honest with you. You've got all your options for swiveling, you can turn it round, you can alter the height if you want, so as you can see it goes pretty high, so it's really down to preference. Obviously, everyone wants the monitor different heights, and some people even put them on top of boxes and stuff like that. But as you can see, it works straight away. We're going to do some testing on there basically just to see how it works and how everything goes. But otherwise, I can't see any problems with it. Okay, so we've got Cinebench set up, ready to run. It's version R23.2. We've also got hardware info here, so you can see the specifications all on here of the actual components inside the machine, just in case you want to, and then you can also see the actual speeds there, and the temperatures of the CPU as well. While the machine's roughly idle with a few bits running on it, it's running at around about 40-ish degrees. So when I say that it's running at, that's the CPU is running at roughly 40 degrees, which is pretty normal for an i5 processor. So it's managing to keep it cool good enough. So that's pretty good. So what we're going to do is basically run the test, see how hot it gets, give a rough idea what sort of score we're getting. I'm guessing it's going to be pretty good, but again, it's an all-in-one. It isn't a big desktop, so it isn't going to boost and keep as higher clocks as a desktop. But saying that, it's probably not going to be too bad considering it's an all-in-one. So here we go. Let me just reset that and press start. So this is going to test basically how fast it can run, but also while it's doing that, we can have a look at the sort of temperatures we're running at. So straight away the temperatures have peaked straight away up to around about 90 degrees and then dropped back down to about 58. So that's where it's obviously started up, the boosts have kicked in and the temperatures have got really hot. But by the time the actual fan kicks in, which probably took it about half a second or so, the temperatures have dropped down to roughly high 50 degrees, so 58, 59 degrees sort of thing. What we're going to do is let this test run through. I'm guessing it's going to take about 6 minutes to do a multi-thread test on this, and then we'll have a look at the average temperatures over that time. Okay, testing's just finished. It's gone all the way through. We've got a score of 3,695. Temperature wise, it averaged out roughly around about 62 degrees. As I said at the beginning, it did peak. It probably took a few seconds for the fan to, well, probably not a few seconds, but half a second for the fan to kick in. It did reach up to about 96 degrees Celsius, but that was only really at the peak, and then it went straight back down to around about 58, 59, and then averaged about 62 degrees all the way through the rest of the testing. But while it was doing that, you couldn't actually really hear the fans inside there. It was actually running really quiet. If you had a big desktop doing a test like this, running flat out, you would hear nothing but fans going flat out. So actually it performed pretty well, and saying that, is even quieter than a laptop, so when we've performed these sort of tests on it. So it's been doing pretty good. The processor was peaking at about 4.4 gigahertz. Obviously that's within the boost, but normally I think the speed is 2.62 gigahertz. But again, it gives you a rough idea, so that's pretty good. So sound wise, let's just go onto the internet just to give you a rough idea what the sound quality is like on here. Again, this is an office machine. It's not really designed to be a big thing for playing lots of videos. Should be good enough though for doing stuff like Skype calls, Zoom, and all the other usual things. But let's just click on this James Bond trailer here just to give you a rough idea.
Back to a time before we ask the question.
Get past the adverts. So as you can hear there, it's quite loud, so it's good enough for using in office or standard home stuff like that, so you shouldn't have an issue there. Don't get me wrong, it is a little bit tinny, doesn't sound like there's much bass behind it at all, and again, probably a slight muffled effect there, but again, that's probably because the speakers are on the back of the screen, so they're having to bounce back off the back of the studio to hear the sound and bounce back again. But again, the sound quality may sound different because you are listening to this through our camera, which is recording it, and then you're playing it through your own speakers or headset, which obviously is going to affect the sound. But for a all-in-one, sound quality is pretty good, better than most laptops you get on the market, and even some budget speakers, it's better than those. So I would say, yeah, they're pretty loud. It's good enough to do productivity work and stuff like that. So that shouldn't be an issue. The webcam is built into the top. So let me just close all the things we've got open here. Yes, 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 yes. Go away, go away, go away. So if I was to open the camera app, so just the standard one, it's going to pop up, can't find webcam. But if you flick it up, bang, the webcam comes on, and away you go. Oh, look, you can actually see our studio, what it looks like from behind, or at least part of it. But if I start waving and go in front of it, I'm not going to go straight in front of it, because otherwise you're going to see, obviously, the rest of the studio, and I'm going to be blocking it via the camera. But you can see the quality of the camera is pretty good, and it's got face tracking as well. So it's actually tracking my face. So that's pretty good. And if you don't want the camera anymore, push it down, simple as that. So you can hide it out of the way, so it's really good for privacy and stuff like that. The microphone built into it as well. So let's have a look. Sound, or should I say voice recorder. Go on there, and again pop up the microphone. Okay, just had to reopen the app for it to pick it up. So start the voice recorder. So I'm just going to record now. Testing 1, 2, 3. This is Phil from Tech for Techs.
This is Phil from Tech for Techs.
Sounded like a little bit jumpy to begin with, but once it got going, it was absolutely fine. You can get that with microphones now and again, and speakers. They sort of go into a slow standby mode, but if you start it again and re-record, usually the first few seconds you can get a bit choppy, and then it's usually clearer after that. So in conclusion, well, first of all, Loop do quite a few different chassis with different sizes, availability, different screens, different graphics and so forth, but with the same sort of basic concept where you can put this element card in, or NUC, or whatever you want to call it, or a compute unit, whatever way you want to call it. As I said, you can basically put that in and away you go. So you can customize the machines however you want, and in reality you could just basically stock one type of chassis, which could be like a range of machines that you can call it, and then you basically just buy in the different compute units or elements depending on how you want it to go. So you could have an i3, i5, i7 with 8 gig, and then you could have different size SSDs and hard drives to go in there as well, giving you unlimited options of what you can offer just in one chassis. And then it's got that upgradability in the future as well, so you can then stick in a different compute element if you want to in a couple of years time. So let's just say the 13th gen Intel i7.5.1.2.3 comes out, you can go and slam that in there and you should be all up and running with ease, which is pretty good in all honesty. So negatives first. Well, there wasn't really much. I think the only real negative, if anything, was the sound. If I'm being a bit picky, could have been a little bit clearer, a little bit more bass behind it. It was a little bit tinny, but then again, unless you're going to be doing high-end audio work, it was more than sufficient. You could easily watch a video, do a Zoom team meeting or something like that with ease, and even play a few basic games as well. On top of that, the viewing angle wasn't probably the best in the world, in all honesty, but then again, how many times do you sit at your computer at a 145-degree angle and use it? Well, I know I don't. When I'm using my computer, I'm generally sitting directly in front of it. So, in all honesty, I don't see that much as too much of a big deal. Positives, well, everything else. The stand, tiltable. You can adjust it up and down, you can swivel it, you can pretty much do everything you want, and it's a really good build quality. Same goes for the actual unit as well. It seemed very sturdy, very well built, didn't have any issues or anything along that lines there. I can see it lasting quite a long time. And then obviously you've got the upgradability, the different options, and everything else. Basically, I could go on forever saying all the good things about it, because generally it was a very good unit and I couldn't do anything but highly recommend this product. So if you're a system integrator, or you've got a retail store or even a repair store and want to sell a few all-in-one computers, or you need something just to fit that job where the customer wants something really small and able to fit on the desk without having a big bulky box, well, this could be the product for you and potentially could change the way you sell all-in-ones or even computers as a whole, because you basically just need one box and then you can stick any bits inside you really want to make the specifications you want. So again, I do highly recommend this, and if you are interested in purchasing these, we do have links in the description just below. Thank you for watching this video, everyone. It's really appreciated you made it all the way to the end. Please make sure you subscribe, like, comment, and even click that bell so you get notifications of new videos and live streams. It does help support the channel, and supporting the channel basically means that we can release more content for you and also better quality content going forward. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.